There's a theory that Kris Dreemurr will lose their hand, but that's not a revelation. There's a lot of evidence supported in the game that explains why that might happen. I'm not here to challenge the canon and provide a debate to an answer that's already been explained by multiple people. I see a child being hurt, and I desperately wanted to explore the hurt. Makes me a monster. This isn't about if Kris might lose a hand. It's about a kid trapped in their own body, a passion forcibly interrupted, rage at having their agency stolen, and whether losing the hand is loss or rebellion. To give a little context to those that may not be familiar with the hand theory, I'll briefly go over them. In Chapter 3, there's a gumball machine that you can interact with. And if you enter the code 1225 or 1225, being Christmas of December, also associated very commonly with Des's number, A being the parental code that you have to enter to get into Toriel's room in Chapter 3, as well as Noelle's constantly searching her left and right to find her sister in Chapter 2. Once you enter 1225 into this gumball machine, you enter this red maze, and at the end of the maze, you find another gumball machine, and it reads, when you interact with it, a small dark triangle like lacquer, and it slipped through your hand. You couldn't find it. You couldn't find your hand. And then it fades to black. Very ominous cryptic message. And then as well in Chapter 4, when you're severed from Kris and you're separated from the soul in the basement, and Noelle and Susie come and find you, they're yucking it up about this silly little movie called Blood Crushers 3, and they're casually dropping hands about a protag losing the severed hand. That's not just character interactions, that's foreshadowing, classic foreshadowing. You don't drop lore like that for no reason. There's definitely more things pointing to it, and I would strongly recommend go looking up a full-on theory video on the hand theory, but point is, a lot of signs are pointing to Kris losing their hand in the future. However, what I care about is what it would mean, how it happens, why it happens, and what does it mean for us in the future? Specifically, what does it mean for Kris? I want to talk about the piano incident. At the end of the day, whether they are proud of it or embarrassed or shy about it, Kris is a pianist. Or at the very least, they have a passion that they are dedicated to and the only thing they have control of. Or rather, they had control of. You as the soul can say, as Kris, I will never play again. And what does Kris do? They physically bite their own hand to stop it. Another hint at the hand theory. That's not the apathy that we've been witnessing this entire time. That's rebellion. That's agency fighting back. 3 months ago, I've been trying to answer the question, who is Kris? Our willing and or unwilling vessel. And rather than landing on a complete answer, I decided to lean into that confusion. If we flash back, Undertale was all about choice. Similar to games like Life is Strange, One Shot, and many other RPGs, you as the protagonist have power over the characters in its world, and your choices end up changing the timeline of the game. This game completely spits in the face of everything Toby Fox built up with Undertale, which I love. What a rebellious act in itself. Similar to games like the Stanley Parable, where we're wrestling with the illusion of choice, provided different kinds of outcomes and choices that end up all falling into the same timeline. Our real protagonist of this game, Queen Susie. Everything that goes against the prophecy and the prophetic strings that Kris is tethered to is Susie. Susie acting as friction against the prophecy. Everything that is against the prophecy, Susie exhibits the freedom that we're not allowed to have. Ralsei being the emotional dissonance, still being a relevant role in the prophecy story, but nudging it gently along the way regardless of consequences. The night being the catalyst to everything, and the holidays being the emotional triggers that probably caused everything that transpired up until this point to cause us into being. And of course, Kris. I really struggled on a composition. Ideas kept surfacing, but everything still felt like an incomplete answer, because the story itself is incomplete. There were so many thoughts swirling in my head of how to visualize any of this. Kris's chains being blood vessels connected to the soul, a birdcage ribcage soliloquy being ripped apart in rage and pain, one of the knight's horns slicing off their hand. From idea to conception, this picture was less of an artistic challenge, but a puzzle to the incomplete answer of who is Kris? I don't have an answer because the game hasn't given us an answer yet, but I wanted to visually explore one. Identity, lack of identity, agency, and the aftermath. I desperately wanted to give our vessel a voice. Was their voice heard? And was it accurate? That's up for you to decide. If you want to see more of my thought process into the painting of how things came to be and why decisions were made, be on the lookout for the next few weeks where I was challenged with figuring out Kris Dreemurr in real time. And if you want to see the end result of this conversation, the cage is a completely different perspective of this painting, coupled with completely different footage and music. It's not just a speed paint. It's the 3-month hell that Kris put me through condensed into 10 minutes. So as always, my friends, PLD, keep playing, keep loving, and keep dreaming. The prophecy is not in your hand. See you next time, everyone.